I got myself doom scrolling for the past 2 hours, so I thought, what better way to take myself out of this mental stuckness than to put up the camera and try to chat anyway. So if you sometimes find yourself in a situation like that as well, where you plan to do something but then you just end up doom scrolling and self-sabotaging and not doing the thing that you wanted to do, welcome on board, my friend. Grab a beverage and let's talk about it. Now that I'm home for more time during the week, pretty much every day of the week, because I started working online, giving classes online, I really wanted to focus on committing this summer to transforming my life completely. And that means building my channel and working on my book so that later on in the year I can reap the benefits of the actions that I would take today to hopefully change my future. It's easier said than done when you are stuck in the doom scrolling zone to just get yourself out of that mode, because I was stuck there for these 2 hours and I was scrolling on my phone, perfectly knowing that I really want to get up and record and make use of the sunset light that is now pouring into my room and do what I promised myself that I would do. One thing that I found that works for me in these kind of moments is, especially when you are paralyzed by fear, paralyzed by the thing that you wanted to do, instead of deciding like, okay, now I'm gonna get up and do the things, I found it much more helpful to kind of fool myself and pretend that I'm not actually gonna do anything. So let me explain you how I approached this. I was stuck in this doom scrolling zone, but instead of just pushing myself, be like, okay, get up, like let's do it right now, get up, do this, checklist of 1 to 3 things to get this done that I wanted to get done, I just decided to focus on the next step. So after being stuck in the doom scrolling zone for the 2 hours, I just told myself, look, the only thing you have to do now is just get up, get something to drink. Let's focus on that. So first step, get up from bed. I accomplished that. Great. Now that I'm standing up, what can I do? I realized that I didn't eat dinner, so let's go do that. I prepared myself dinner. I cleaned the old dishes. I made myself a nice tea. And I took it step by step. Then I ate my dinner without thinking about the video that I'm about to record. I did not allow myself to acknowledge that next step in any way. I ate my dinner in peace. I watched some YouTube, allowed myself to chill. I drank my tea and just enjoyed the moment without letting the fear overtake me, because I was thinking about the next step, if that makes sense. So I was just thinking about the next immediate step that follows after the action that I'm doing right now, and I didn't allow myself to go beyond that. I didn't allow myself to spiral, because as soon as I would think that, okay, I'm gonna get up from bed, then I'm gonna make dinner, and then after I eat dinner I'm gonna start recording, that already puts me in like, I want to just keep doom scrolling and avoid that thing and don't acknowledge it, don't do it, just pretend that it's not happening. So by tricking myself to just focus on the next step, which is what I'm suggesting you do as well if you get stuck in the doom scrolling zone, just focus on the next immediate step. Don't think about the big scary task, just focus on the big immediate step, and that's it. Yeah, it helped, it worked, now I'm here, so let's talk. When I feel so overwhelmed, I find it helpful to talk to someone about the situation that I'm in, the fact that I'm stuck, for example, in a doom scrolling loop. I find it helpful to acknowledge it and talk with someone about it. In moments like that, like right now, I'm home alone and I don't have anyone by my side to talk about it, and maybe just my own inner voice isn't enough to work through this loop that I'm stuck in. I sometimes talk to Mr. Geppetto, or most commonly known ChatGPT, and I thought, what better way to acknowledge the fact that I got out of the doom scrolling loop and now I'm here chatting with you than to chat about this and do a kind of Q&A about how we as humans get stuck in these things. By the way, as I'm answering these questions, if you also are stuck in the doom scrolling loop and that's why you're watching this video right now, try to answer these questions yourself. Like, no one's pushing you to do anything right now, but maybe having a little retrospective moment could be helpful for you too, to get out of your own hole and find the strength and the courage and some little push and spark to get up and do the things that you wanted to do. It's not always about doing things, it's also about acknowledging what's happening and reflecting on what's happening. So, you don't always have to be perfect. You can also have a slower moment, but it's good to reflect. I believe it's very good and very important to reflect on the things that happen to us or the failures that we commit sometimes, to learn more about ourselves and how we can do better in the future. We got the first question. What do you think the doom scrolling was trying to do for you? Distract you, protect you, delay you? How do you feel in the moment? I think that the doom scrolling was giving me a kind of safe space to pretend that my responsibilities don't exist. Even though it's a self-imposed responsibility of me wanting to do something for myself, like creating a video, all of this sometimes feels very overwhelming and very scary. I got the imposter syndrome. I feel like I'm not good enough. And I feel like in this moment, doom scrolling for these 2 hours was giving me this kind of safe space to avoid responsibilities and avoid acknowledging myself, because I'm the one who has set this task for myself. But by doom scrolling on my phone constantly, I was just kind of pretending that nothing around is happening. My peripheral vision was blocked and I was just focused and locked in on my phone rather than acknowledging anything happening around. So yeah, I think protection and safe space and avoidance. A second question. Can you identify the moment of decision when you broke out of it? Was it a thought, a feeling, a subtle I'm done moment? It was actually a video. I was scrolling through shorts on YouTube, as you do. The video that kind of got me out of it was the dating coach, what's his name? Matthew Hussey and Drew Barrymore. It was a short from Drew's show where Matthew said something along the lines of, imagine if on the first day when you arrived on Earth, you were given a task of taking care of a human. Of course, what he means is the inner child that we have within ourselves and how as adults we need to take care of them. Because what he was saying in that video, in that message, was that since he's a dating coach, he teaches people to don't look for happiness and love outside of ourselves, but rather learn to give that love and fulfillment to ourselves. So when he said that, even though not from a dating perspective, I still felt it deeply in me, because I saw what I'm doing. I'm laying there on my bed scrolling for 2 hours, and the inner child me that's potentially sitting next to me observing me is just neglected in that moment, and I'm not doing anything to help her or take care of her. So this is what made me get up and make myself some food, make myself some drink, move my body for a moment, because I've been laying there not moving for 2 hours. And in the name of taking care of my inner child, of my inner human, I felt that responsibility deeply in that moment. And I was like, okay, time to get up, time to take care of myself, and time to do something that is long-term going to make me happy. So this is what helped me overcome that fear and get up, take care of myself, and get myself to the point to be here with you right now. A drink break. Third question. What was it specifically about the task, so recording the planned video, that triggered the freeze response? I felt that it was the fear of not being good enough, fear of not feeling good enough, the imposter syndrome in general coming at me with full power and full force, trying to stop me from doing this, because it feels scary, because it feels, you are about to do something out of your comfort zone, and then all the what ifs come at you. And what if it comes out shitty? What if no one ever watches it? So all of these thoughts were there banging on my mental door as I was trying to cut the outside world off with doom scrolling. All these thoughts were trying to barge into my head, and I was pushing them away by exhibiting this avoidant behavior and doom scrolling, because I was scared of the imposter syndrome, of not showing up to my best ability. So maybe a little bit of perfectionism too as well. like, maybe I don't look well enough, I don't look good enough, I don't have good enough things to say, what if I'm not gonna know what to say, and all things like that. All things that mess with your mind, that make you imagine the worst case scenario, that make you see yourself in much worse light, literally and figuratively, than you really are in, like not giving you much credit and mentally punishing you before you even attempt the task, if you know what I mean. Fourth question: does it feel safer to show up spontaneously than to execute on a plan? When I'm creating content or writing or whatever it is that involves my creativity, I noticed that I am much better, as of right now, working on impulse and spontaneity rather than showing up and executing a plan. I found that if I schedule something in, then maybe, I guess, is that I have enough time ahead of that task to start worrying and imagining the worst case scenario. So if I tell myself, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna start recording right now, maybe this takes my nervous system, my mind, my fears, my ingrained fears by surprise, and I don't have enough time to start worrying. I don't have enough time to prepare all the fears and excuses and imagine all the worst case scenarios. So maybe there is something to it, that if I'm spontaneous, I don't have time to worry, so I just go and do the thing rather than having time to overthink. So I guess this is kind of similar to what I told you before, that how I got myself out of that doom scrolling zone is by only focusing on the next task and not allowing myself to think about the big task of recording a video, for example. So maybe not allowing myself, or not allowing yourself, the time to think about the big task and only approaching it in the moment when it's supposed to happen, when you have planned for it to happen. Maybe that's one solution to not get overwhelmed, to don't get into the doom scrolling zone. Last question: what's the difference in energy between a task you owe and a truth you share? So that's an interesting approach, I guess, because you probably feel it too if you're here watching me chat about these, self-doubt things, doom scrolling, and getting stuck in my own loops. You probably experience that as well. And what I mean is, when I overanalyze things, when I make them too complicated, when I try to be too analytical, I find that things either bore me to death, or I have very short attention span / dedication span, if I can call it that. I find it much more difficult to persist in a task if it's just a rough, cold, analytical, logical plan, rather than when my emotions and thoughts and feelings are in it. So for instance, these videos that I've been creating for the past few months, I changed the approach of how I've been doing things, and I've only been sharing the thoughts and feelings that I really deeply feel in the moment, like right now that I had a doom scrolling oopsie and I decided to talk about it with you and talk with Geppetto and have a little Q&A, because it felt very emotional. And I feel like when it comes to creating, I'm much more of an emotional creator than create under a rigoristic plan and a logical approach. Does that make sense? I find the same when it comes to writing. However, back in November, when I did the NaNoWriMo, the writing challenge to write 50,000 words of a book in 1 month, I did commit to a plan of writing every day, and I did meet with other writers to write every day, and that was pretty much one of the first times where I executed on something creative but following a plan. I didn't manage to stick to the plan every single day and write as planned every single day, but I did show up most of the time anyway. So maybe it's just something that I need to explore more and something that I need to learn. But I found that even with these videos that I'm making, that when emotion and thought is involved, I'm much more creative and much more free to create, rather than when I'm following an analytical and logical plan. So maybe this is a food for thought for you as well. If you are having trouble to stick to your plan, if you are a creative person, a content creator or an artist of some sort, and you find it difficult to persist and stay dedicated and committed, Maybe the issue is that you're making it too logical for your own personal set of characteristics and behaviors and preferences and predispositions than you're used to, than you're comfortable with. Maybe you're making it too analytical and too logical in a way that takes the fun and joy and creativity and intuition and spontaneity out of it. Who knew that I would learn so many cool things about myself in the course of this video? To conclude this little brain dump and inspired brainstorm, I guess, about doom scrolling, about getting stuck in your own mind out of fear of the big, scary creative tasks that we set for ourselves. Both Geppetto and I have a question for you too, to conclude and to give you something to think about. So the first question for you is, when do you get stuck in this loop the most? Do you notice any particular situations or moments or triggers where the doom scrolling is happening? Maybe you're scared of some task, maybe you're overwhelmed or overthinking, maybe you're imagining the worst case scenario. Did you ever think about what really puts you in that state of mind and why could it be? The second question, what's the thing that you are avoiding by scrolling? Because let's be honest, I think there are very few of us who are doom scrolling for pleasure. I think that majority of us who get stuck in doom scroll because we are avoiding something important, something bigger, something important, something scary, something overwhelming. So what is it really that you're trying to avoid by scrolling? And the last and the third, and maybe the most profound question is, have you ever noticed that it's not laziness, but fear dressed up as comfort? Let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!